Hey, good morning. It's Friday morning. Today we're reading from Romans 10:14 through 17. How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone preaching? And how are they to preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who preach the good news. But they have not all obeyed the gospel. For Isaiah says, Lord, who has believed what he has heard from us? So faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. Now, in our time, in our culture, in our context, everybody's heard of Jesus. Even those who don't have anything to do with him could tell you who he was. You know, he's the guy that we celebrate Christmas about, or he's the guy who was the first Christian, or something. Everybody knows. In that ancient world, they didn't have all the communication things that we have. And so how is anybody to know about Jesus unless they heard someone preach? Paul says. So this is the way the message is conveyed in the ancient world, is through word of mouth. And someone has to go and preach it. And so then he quotes this verse, how beautiful are the feet of those who come to preach. Now, I don't know about you, but you know, my feet are not particularly beautiful. I don't know very many people who have beautiful feet. That is a Hebrew idiom that means how timely it is, how good it is to see them arrive, how beautiful are their feet when they get here. You know, it's good to see you, is the way we would say it. We're so glad that you've come. Your feet are beautiful. So it means something like that. So it's a reference to the fact that we are glad that these preachers have arrived. We're glad that they're here. It's good that they're here. Not that their feet actually are that beautiful. So there's a little bit of Hebrew class for you. But Paul gets to it at the end of this little bit where he says, faith comes from hearing, and hearing from the word of Christ. So you've got to hear this word if in order to have any faith. And if you haven't heard it, then how can you have faith in it? So, and he's kind of calling on the church to say, you know, if they haven't heard it, well, whose problem is that? It's not their problem. Maybe it's our problem, since we haven't gone there to transmit that message. Now, I'm not saying that we should all, you know, do like in the 1940s and all run off to darkest Africa or somewhere in Asia and live in a hut and be missionaries. The missionary country that we're most familiar with is the United States. You know, Leslie Newbigin was a missionary from England who went to India in the 1930s and came back to England in the late 70s, I think, when he retired. After a long and very successful career in India, and he came back and he said, I left a Christian country and went to a pagan land. He left England, went to India. When I started. When I retired, I left a Christian country, India, and came home to a pagan land. So in his mind, everything had reversed. And there's a little bit of exaggeration there, but not too much. And that's kind of the way it is in our country. We think of ourselves as a Christian country, but when you really look at it, there are not that many people that understand and act according to the gospel. And a lot of people need to hear the gospel. And someone said one time on the internet that most Americans have been inoculated against the gospel. That is, they've heard it enough, they've heard a little of it, so they've kind of built up a resistance to it. So there's plenty of missionary opportunities. There's plenty of chances to proclaim the word of Jesus right in our neighborhoods, and that's something that we should all take to heart. We don't have to go anywhere. You just do it where you live and with the people around you, and that way they can hear the word, and so they can have faith. So there's your call for a Friday, and we will see you on Saturday. Have a great rest of the day.